Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. The European Union is just an artificial creation, obviously, and it is a voluntary association of countries, union. And they said that once you are in this union, the borders will cease to exist in Schengen states, and they will use their common currency, the euro, and they will have a common government and all that. The problem is, as in a relationship, interpersonal relationship, things are external factors will determine how strong the union is or your relationship. When things are going, bad, or it's hard time, then you see if the relationship is really what it seemed to be in during good times. The same is with the European Union. In good times everybody's happy and they're all friends and smiling. When things start to squeak here and there, then you see how actually unified is this European Union. Because after all, they try to put together a bunch of nations with traditions, with histories. Some of them don't really like one another. Not really, they don't like one another. But they bury that for the sake of the unity and maybe a better lives for all of them. The problem is this is called diversity. And these are different tribes that are put together and they keep their territories, but they still remain tribes. Here in the United States, they say that diversity is our strength. Well, I would give a few examples how diversity worked in other countries like former Yugoslavia and Czechoslovakia. Diversity worked just fine. So these guys, the European Union, instead of taking note of that, they think that they should create it so they can turn into the outcome of Yugoslavia and maybe Czechoslovakia. And not only, these are not the only options. They don't understand the tribal instinct of human beings. Now the thing is, in the Schengen states and the European Union, you don't need a passport to cross the borders anymore, because everything was great and fantastic. Well, when the things are getting a little bit bad, they immediately insulate their countries from outside threats. They don't look at it as a European Union. They look at it as Germany, France, and so on. Immediately. So that tells you how feeble this notion of unity in Europe, in the European Union is. Now we have this influx of immigrants and refugees. And instead of saying, okay, the borders of the European Union should be, consolidated and taken care of and supervised, monitored, whatever you want to call, no. There are countries within the European Union who started protecting their own old borders. Hungary was an example, Poland was an example, even France was an example. Remember when there was the big influx of refugees? Now we have another influx of refugees from Ukraine, and it's not going to be only the Ukrainians coming over, right? There will be some other ones. And there are countries who already imposed border checks, the same. And that is Czechia, Czech Republic, and Austria. From Slovakia, that is, people seem to come cross the border in Slovakia and from Slovakia, not Hungary, because Hungary has a border. They try to trickle down to the European Western countries. So we have. So let's see what this article says. This article comes from Republic World. And it's from today, the 29th of 2022 of September. Czechs relaunch checks at Slovak border amid migration waves. So Czech police fired warning shots in the air before detaining the driver of a van carrying 15 migrants Thursday morning after the Czech Republic and Austria renewed checks at the border with Slovakia amid a new wave of migration. Czech police fired warnings. Yes, Czech police reported traffic delays, especially for trucks, after the measure became effective on Thursday at 27 border crossings, while the Austrian authorities enforced it at 11 crossings. The checks will be initially in place for 10 days. Austria and Czech Republic and Slovakia all belong to the European Union's visa-free Schengen zone, where residents of member nations typically can cross borders without presenting passports or visas. Schengen countries have adopted temporary border controls in the past for various reasons, including to curb illegal migration and to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. In the first 8 hours of the checks, the Czech police said some 120 illegal immigrants or migrants, including the 15 in the van, were detained on Czech territory, together with 9 human smugglers. The guys who cross the United States border are freedom fighters. And I'm quoting, "The goal isn't to complicate the lives of the Czech and the Slovak citizens," Czech Interior Minister Vít Rakusan said after midnight at a border crossing. "The goal is only to make it clear to the groups of smugglers who are the real criminals that they have a barrier at the border, and the person who violates your laws, you're crossing border, entering your country without papers. Isn't that illegal? Isn't that, are you not considered a criminal committing a crime? A person who breaks the law becomes a criminal. That's a crime, and then becomes a criminal by definition. So why are we just whistling around terms that fit the behavior? What's going on here? We know what's going on. Now we're gonna have rapists, I don't know, we're gonna call rapists temporary pleasure seeking individuals, adults. Is that what we're gonna do? Or what? How are we gonna do all that? I think it was where I read an article about the rapists. Now you can't tell them they're rapists. You have to call them differently. It's unbelievable. And if you say differently, oh my God, don't call it a murderer anymore. Call it, I don't know, a temporary misguided genius or something. Rakusan said Czech officials will negotiate further steps with the authorities from other European countries. He said that the Czech Republic, which currently holds the rotation EU presidency, will do the maximum to find a Europe-wide solution. Now, he spoke after Slovakia's Prime Minister Eduard Heger criticized the move of its neighbor. Until 1992, they were one country, Czechoslovakia. Why did they separate if diversity is such a great thing? Such a bullshit. Slovakia wants to help enforce the outer Schengen border between Hungary and Serbia to curb the flow of migrants. Interior Minister Roman Mikulec said in the talks with neighboring countries don't result in a solution. His country will also launch border checks. So if there's no solution, we're gonna just separate again, divorce temporarily, and then little by little you're gonna see. After Russia invaded Ukraine, the Czech Republic accepted some 430,000 Ukrainian refugees, but Rakusan said the latest measure is dealing with illegal migration. The Interior Minister said the checks were necessary after authorities detained almost 12,000 migrants on Czech territory this year, most of them from Syria. This is more than 8,500 seen during the previous massive migration wave in Europe in 2015. How did they get there? How did they get? And they have some 125 human smugglers. Well, the point is here that the Czech Republic, together with Hungary and Poland, refused to comply with the refugee quota program launched by the EU. After over 1 million migrants entered the bloc in 2015, most fleeing war in Syria and Iraq. And who says they have to come to Europe? Why don't they go to China? Or let's go to Zimbabwe. No? Why not? Because they're not really running away from that, from the conflict. They go for a better life. And where's the better life? Among these racist former colonizing countries, right? Because they stole all the wealth for them before and from everybody else, correct? Is that how the story goes? Yeah, I know it very well, but yeah, so why didn't they go to their brothers? They never colonized them. I mean, you go again to be colonized and discriminated against. Jesus Christ, man, make the same mistake the same in the United States. Everyone wants to come here in the most racist country in the world. So how in the hell? Why? And these guys, they come to the country of the oppressors. Can you believe you go in the lion's den because it's warm? Really? Doesn't make sense. You go to another den with your friends and brothers where it's also warm. All right. Disintegration, that's what's going to be sooner or later. Nigel Farage said it right many years ago. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.